Thank you. Uh, what we saw on October 7, the Hamas atrocities, is, the direct result of decades of incitement, indoctrination, and brainwashing by Palestinian leaders. And when I talk about Palestinian leaders, I'm not only referring to Hamas, I'm also referring to the Palestinian Authority. And as someone who happens to speak Arabic and has been following what has been said in the mosques, in the rhetoric, on the campuses, in the schools, in the textbooks, the attack that happened, or the massacre that happened on October 7th, does not come as a surprise to people like me. Now, when I talk about the incitement, what does that mean? Because many people in the West did not really want to pay attention to the words and the rhetoric of the Palestinian Authority first and later Hamas. What we have been witnessing over the past 3 decades, ironically, since the beginning of the peace process, since the beginning of the Oslo Accords, is a massive campaign by the Palestinian Authority first and later by Hamas and other groups to vilify Israel, to demonize Jews, and to depict Israel as an alien body that was planted in the Middle East by imperialist, colonialist powers, and that has no right to exist over here. Again, as I said, the Western countries, especially the Western donors, did not want to pay attention to what the Palestinian Authority, Yasser Arafat, was saying at the beginning of the Oslo Accords. I can tell you, as someone who has been following the Palestinian Authority from day one, I never saw any real attempt on the part of Yasser Arafat and later Mahmoud Abbas to prepare Palestinians for peace and compromise with Israel. In fact, what I've seen is, as I mentioned, a massive campaign, a widespread campaign waged in the media, in the mosques, to delegitimize Israel, isolate Israel, with the hope of, forcing Israel to make far-reaching concessions, and also with the hope of forcing Israel to its knees. Now, when I talk about, this type of incitement, let me give you some examples. And my colleague Dan referred to it, Dan Diker. The Al-Aqsa libel, the libel that, Israel is planning to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Who has been promoting this libel since 2015? It's the Palestinian Authority. President Mahmoud Abbas. In 2015, President Mahmoud Abbas, in a speech in Ramallah, before some Fatah activists, he said, "We will not allow Jews to defile with their filthy feet our holy sites." He was referring to peaceful visits by Jews to the Temple Mount. Now, weeks after this statement, something called the Knife Intifada erupted, which was a wave of stabbings of Jews in Jerusalem, in the West Bank and elsewhere. Why? Because the president said Al-Aqsa is in danger. The president said the Jews are desecrating our holy sites. It is the president who said that we need to defend our holy sites. So this just shows you one example. Let me remind you that the name Hamas chose for its attack on Israel is called the Al-Aqsa Flood. What does that mean? The jihad to save the Al-Aqsa Mosque from being destroyed by Israel, by the Jews. Where did they pick that up from? They picked it up from the same Palestinian Authority, from the same Palestinian president. Now, since 2015, again, both Hamas and the Palestinian Authority have been depicting the Jewish visits to the Temple Mount as violent incursions into the Al-Aqsa Mosque, as attempts to storm the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And this has agitated the Palestinians and the Muslims. It has depicted Jews as evil people who want to destroy the holy sites. If you listen to the statements that have been coming out of both the Palestinian Authority and Hamas, they're also spreading the libel that Jews are planning to destroy not only mosques, but churches as well. And we add to this, of course, other libels, such as, accusing Israel and Jews of ethnic cleansing, of war crimes, of planning to Judaize Jerusalem, which means, changing Israel's Jewish character, Islamic and Arab character, and making Jerusalem a Jewish city. And more importantly, there's the denial of Jewish history, the denial of any Jewish link to this land. And again, who is spearheading this campaign to deny any Jewish link to the land? It's the Palestinian Authority. Just last year, I was in Ramallah at a press conference where the Palestinian Prime Minister, Mohammed Ishtaya, he said, there are no traces of Jewish history in Jerusalem. And add to this another thing, which is supporting the boycott campaigns that are being waged against Israel. All of these messages, the boycotts, the denial of Jewish history, the libels that Jews are planning to desecrate and destroy the holy sites in Jerusalem, they are promoting anti-Semitism and they are endangering the lives of Jews worldwide. Both the Palestinian Authority and Hamas have become the biggest spreaders of anti-Semitism because of all these messages that they are responsible for. If you watch their rhetoric, if you listen to their rhetoric and you watch what they are publishing and saying, you will understand why Palestinians grab a knife or a gun and go out to murder the first Jew they meet in the street. There's, of course, also the glorification of suicide bombers, of terrorists who carry out attacks against Israel. By doing so, Palestinian leaders are continuing to raise a generation after generation on the glorification of martyrdom, suicide bombers, and all form or various forms of terrorism against Israel. And this is where the international community, specifically Western donors, can play a role. I can understand that we have no, leverage with Hamas, but I cannot understand why the European governments that are funding the Palestinian Authority are not coming to the Palestinian Authority and banging on the table and saying, enough is enough. You need to change these messages. You need to stop promoting anti-Semitism. You need to stop promoting jihad against Israel. You need to start preparing your people for peace with Israel. Only then will the Palestinian Authority start changing. Now, some people say, well, it's not for sure that they will do everything the donors want. And I say, if the Palestinian Authority does 1 or 2 or 5% of that and starts working on changing the narrative and de-radicalizing Palestinian society, we've made progress. But we need to start somewhere. And again, as I said, the ball is in the Europeans' court, the American court. Palestinians are almost entirely dependent on American and European taxpayer money. Use your money to demand something good. You're not demanding that the Palestinians wake up in the morning and sing the Israeli national anthem. You're not demanding that the Palestinians become pro-Israel. you're actually demanding something that is good for the Palestinians themselves, which is that they stop poisoning the hearts and minds of the young people. This is the only way to prevent another war, another genocide, and more massacres against Israel. So this is, as I said, the ball is in your court, and you have to talk to your governments, to your representatives, and work on this with the Palestinian Authority.